Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, I'm here again with a brand new story. Enjoy the story, and don't forget to share your valuable thoughts in the comments.
What if some places in America were never meant to be discovered? What if, beneath the peaceful forests, abandoned highways, and forgotten deserts of the United States, ancient secrets still waited in silence, hidden from modern civilization for hundreds, maybe even thousands of years? Tonight's story is not just another horror tale. This is a chilling journey into one of the strangest, unexplained discoveries ever connected to American land, where history, fear, and mystery collide in ways that still leave experts searching for answers. Some stories are buried for a reason, and sometimes the truth is far more terrifying than fiction. In the remote desert region of the American Southwest, far beyond the reach of busy highways and city lights, there exists a stretch of land locals rarely speak about. Official maps identify it as an unremarkable area near old mining territory, surrounded by dry rock formations, endless dust, and miles of silence. But among nearby communities, the place carries another name. They call it the Hollow Ground. For decades, strange rumors surrounded this region. Hikers reported hearing low vibrations beneath their feet. Campers claimed their compasses stopped functioning. Some described an unusual coldness in certain areas, even under the brutal desert sun. Most people dismissed these claims as superstition, until 1987. That year, a geological survey team, funded by a private mining corporation, arrived to examine unusual underground density readings detected by scanning equipment. Their goal was simple: locate mineral deposits. But what they found changed everything. The team consisted of 6 experts: geologists, excavation engineers, and underground mapping specialists. According to archived field notes later leaked online, the initial scans revealed a large hollow cavity approximately 200 feet below the surface. At first, this seemed promising. Underground caverns often contain mineral veins or valuable deposits. But one detail immediately confused researchers. The cavity's shape was nearly symmetrical. Natural caves rarely form with such geometric precision. Still, the team proceeded. Excavation began early in the morning under intense desert heat. Heavy drilling equipment slowly penetrated layers of compact stone and sediment until workers struck something unexpected. Not rock, not metal, something harder, smooth, artificial. Excavation halted immediately. After carefully clearing debris, workers exposed a flat stone surface unlike anything found naturally in the surrounding geology. It appeared dark gray, almost black, with polished edges and faint markings carved into its surface. Ancient symbols. No one on site recognized them. At first glance, they resembled a combination of tribal iconography, astronomical patterns, and unknown writing systems. The lead archaeologist later described the discovery in his notes as unlike any indigenous marking system documented in this region. That sentence alone should have triggered massive academic attention. Instead, the opposite happened. Communication logs suggest the team was instructed to continue excavation quietly. No public announcement, no media, no university notification, only internal reporting. As the stone slab was partially removed, a narrow vertical shaft became visible beneath it. And from that moment forward, everything changed. Witnesses reported a sudden drop in temperature around the opening. Equipment sensors malfunctioned. Audio recorders captured low-frequency humming that could not be explained. Still, curiosity won. A small camera was lowered into the shaft. The footage remains one of the most disturbing parts of this case. Initially, the camera descended through a tight stone corridor lined with unusually smooth walls. There were no tool marks, no erosion patterns, no cracks consistent with natural cave formation. Then the tunnel widened. The feed revealed a chamber, massive, circular, perfectly engineered. Stone pillars surrounded the room, each carved with repeating spiral symbols. The floor appeared level and polished, despite being buried hundreds of feet underground. At the center of the chamber stood an object, large, rectangular, black, like a monument or altar. No one spoke for several seconds while watching the feed. Then, one team member reportedly whispered, "This shouldn't be here." Because it truly shouldn't have. Carbon analysis from surrounding sediment later estimated the chamber had been sealed for thousands of years, far older than known colonial history, far older than most documented structures in the area, possibly older than most recognized civilizations connected to North America. How could something this sophisticated exist underground, hidden beneath untouched desert rock? The discovery should have rewritten archaeological understanding. But the deeper they investigated, the stranger things became. The next morning, 3 team members descended into the chamber using climbing harnesses and portable lights. According to official records, they remained underground for 48 minutes. Only 2 returned. The third man, Daniel Mercer, vanished. No collapse, no rope damage, no sign of struggle, nothing. His line remained intact. His radio emitted static for several minutes before going silent. A rescue attempt was organized immediately. No trace of Mercer was ever found. Not even footprints beyond the central structure. As fear spread among the crew, psychological effects began emerging rapidly. One researcher complained of vivid nightmares involving endless underground corridors. Another claimed he kept hearing whispers through inactive radios. A third refused to re-enter the chamber after insisting he saw movement behind one of the pillars. No footage confirmed this, but his distress was severe enough to require removal from the site. Within 72 hours, excavation operations were suspended. The site was sealed. Official explanation? Equipment instability and safety concerns. But leaked documents suggest a different reality. A confidential report allegedly described additional findings inside the chamber. These included stone walls engraved with star maps inconsistent with known ancient American astronomy, human-like skeletal remains positioned in ceremonial patterns, and most disturbing of all, a second passageway leading even deeper underground. This lower tunnel was never fully explored. Why? Because no one wanted to go. One anonymous report stated, "The psychological pressure intensifies significantly beyond the main chamber." No one clarified what that meant. Years later, conspiracy communities began discussing the case after fragments of documents surfaced online. Skeptics called it fabricated fiction, yet several details remain difficult to dismiss. Satellite imagery from the region reportedly shows restricted access zones near the excavation coordinates. Former contractors allegedly signed lifetime non-disclosure agreements, and Daniel Mercer's disappearance remains unresolved. No body, no explanation, no closure. His family reportedly received little information beyond a generic workplace accident statement.
To this day, online investigators continue piecing together what happened at the hollow ground. Some believe the underground complex was built by an unknown pre-Columbian civilization far more advanced than historians realize. Others suggest ceremonial or astronomical functions connected to forgotten cultures. And of course, darker theories exist. Some believe the structure was never meant for humans at all. Ancient tribal folklore from nearby regions adds unsettling context. Oral traditions speak of underground places where the earth breathes and voices rise from below. In one recorded legend, elders warned younger generations never to disturb certain stones in the desert, claiming they sealed away places of spiritual corruption. Could these stories preserve fragmented memory of something real? It's possible. Ancient cultures often encoded practical warnings within mythology. What modern people dismiss as legend sometimes began as lived experience. And history is filled with examples of civilizations preserving danger through storytelling. Volcanoes, flood zones, sacred caves, burial grounds. So perhaps the hollow ground was not merely hidden by nature. Perhaps it was intentionally concealed, not to protect what was outside, but to contain what remained inside. In 2009, an independent exploration group reportedly attempted to locate the original excavation zone using archived coordinates. They never publicly released results. However, one member later posted a cryptic message on an online forum before deleting his account. It read, "We found evidence the site exists. We also found signs someone still monitors the area." No elaboration, no follow-up, just silence. This only fueled speculation further. Government involvement? Private security? Academic suppression? No one knows. But here lies the most fascinating part of this mystery. Whether every leaked detail is authentic or partially exaggerated, one undeniable truth remains. America is filled with unexplored land. Vast deserts, mountain systems, cave networks, buried ruins. Thousands of locations remain archaeologically understudied. And every year, new discoveries challenge assumptions about ancient human history. Lost settlements, burial chambers, ceremonial structures, artifacts with unclear origins. History is far less complete than many people assume. We like to imagine the modern world has mapped everything important, but beneath our feet, enormous chapters of the past remain unread. Some discoveries inspire wonder, others inspire fear, and a rare few do both. The hollow ground represents something deeply unsettling, not because we know exactly what happened there, but because we do not. An engineered underground chamber, unknown symbols, a vanished technician, psychological disturbances, restricted silence. These are the ingredients of legend. Yet legends often begin with truth. Perhaps one day, new evidence will emerge. Perhaps future excavations will reveal what truly lies beneath that desert floor. Or perhaps some mysteries are destined to remain buried, not because humanity lacks the tools to uncover them, but because certain discoveries force us to question how little we actually understand about our own world, about history, about civilization, about what may have existed long before us. And maybe that is the real lesson hidden inside stories like this. Curiosity drives progress, but curiosity without caution can open doors we are not prepared to walk through. Not every mystery needs immediate answers. Not every sealed place should be forced open. Sometimes the unknown exists for a reason. And sometimes, the most terrifying thing is not what we find in darkness, but what darkness has been hiding from us all along.
But what if the hollow ground was only the beginning? What if this was not an isolated discovery, but part of a much larger hidden mystery buried across the United States? Because years after the disappearance of Daniel Mercer, another strange event occurred, this time thousands of miles away, deep within the forests of the Pacific Northwest. Unlike the dry silence of the desert, this region was covered in dense pine trees, mist-filled valleys, and mountains so remote that even experienced hikers avoided certain trails. Locals had their own warnings. They spoke of an abandoned ranger route, unofficially called Black Ridge Trail. Not because the rocks were dark, not because the area was dangerous, but because people who entered certain sections of the forest often reported something impossible. Time felt wrong. Some hikers claimed short walks lasted far longer than expected. Others said their watches stopped completely. A few insisted they heard distant metallic sounds deep underground, as if machinery was running beneath the mountain. Again, most people ignored these claims. Until 1998. That year, a university-led environmental research group traveled into the region to study unusual magnetic anomalies affecting wildlife tracking equipment. The team was small: 4 researchers, 2 field assistants, and 1 local guide familiar with the mountain terrain. Their mission had nothing to do with ancient mysteries, at least not at first. The first few days were uneventful. Equipment was installed, soil samples were collected, wildlife patterns were documented. Then, one evening, while reviewing ground-penetrating radar scans, the lead researcher noticed something deeply unusual beneath a section of elevated terrain: a hollow formation, large, artificially shaped, almost identical in geometric structure to the anomaly discovered years earlier at the hollow ground. At first, the team assumed coincidence, but the deeper scans revealed straight corridors underground, angles too precise to be natural, rooms, passageways, layers. Someone or something had built an underground network beneath the mountain, and it had remained hidden for an unknown period of time. The discovery triggered immediate excitement. Unlike the private desert excavation, this operation initially followed academic procedure. Notes were logged, coordinates recorded, images captured. But within 24 hours, the mood changed. One assistant reported hearing repetitive knocking sounds beneath the ground while setting up camp. Another woke during the night, convinced someone had been walking outside their tent. No footprints were found. The local guide became visibly disturbed. According to surviving journal entries, he repeatedly urged the team to leave. When asked why, he gave only one explanation: "My grandfather warned me about places where mountains are hollow." That sentence unsettled everyone. How could old local folklore describe something radar had only just confirmed? Still, the researchers stayed. Curiosity once again overpowered caution. Excavation began using portable drilling tools. The soil layer proved surprisingly shallow. Only a few meters below the surface, the team struck stone. Not rough stone, smooth stone, dark, polished, artificial. The same description reported in the desert years earlier. At this point, coincidence became difficult to defend. 2 sites, thousands of miles apart, nearly identical underground construction, unknown age, unknown builders, unknown purpose. A narrow entrance was eventually exposed.
The opening descended at a steep angle into darkness. Air sensors detected low oxygen levels, but nothing immediately toxic. Against better judgment, 2 researchers entered. Helmet cameras recorded the descent. At first, everything appeared normal. Stone tunnel, moist walls, heavy silence. Then, the tunnel widened into another chamber, and what they saw there changed the investigation forever. Unlike the desert chamber, this room contained objects, rows of stone platforms arranged in a circular pattern. Each platform held carved artifacts resembling masks, tools, and symbolic discs. Some appeared ceremonial, others seemed mechanical. But the most disturbing object sat against the far wall, a doorway. Massive, circular, sealed shut. Unlike the surrounding stone, this door appeared made from an unknown dark material, resistant to scratches, corrosion, and sample extraction. No hinges, no visible opening mechanism, only symbols carved across its surface. And those symbols matched the patterns found in the desert. Same spirals, same repeating shapes, same unknown script. At that moment, the possibility became impossible to ignore.
These locations were connected. Not culturally similar, not coincidentally alike. Connected. As if part of one hidden system spread beneath different regions of America. But why? No one had an answer. One researcher attempted to photograph the sealed doorway at close range. His camera malfunctioned instantly. Battery failure, complete shutdown. Moments later, every electronic device inside the chamber began behaving erratically. Lights flickered, audio distorted, compasses spun. Then came the sound. Low, deep, resonant. A vibration strong enough to be felt through boots and stone. Not an earthquake, not machinery. Something else. Something rhythmic. The researchers immediately retreated. According to their report, the sound continued for nearly 40 seconds, then stopped. Complete silence returned. When the team emerged, panic spread rapidly. Several members wanted to notify authorities. Others argued for sealing the site and withholding details until more evidence could be analyzed. They never got the chance. The following morning, the camp was no longer alone. Fresh tire tracks surrounded the perimeter. Black vehicle marks. No plates observed. No occupants seen. But someone had clearly visited during the night, and they wanted the researchers to know. A decision was made immediately. Abort mission. Leave. All materials packed, equipment removed, site covered. But before departure, one final incident occurred. As the team prepared to leave, the local guide approached the excavation entrance one last time. He stood silently for nearly a minute, then reportedly said, "They were never doors meant to open." No one asked what he meant. Everyone was too eager to leave. Weeks later, the university unexpectedly suspended publication of all findings related to the expedition. Official explanation? Data inconsistencies, funding limitations, project termination. An embarrassingly weak excuse, especially considering internal notes clearly documented major discoveries. Several researchers later refused interviews. One reportedly changed fields entirely. Another never discussed the trip again. And the local guide? He disappeared from public records within 2 years. No death record, no forwarding address, nothing.
By now, independent investigators had begun comparing both incidents. The hollow ground, Black Ridge Trail, different states, different climates, different decades, same underground architecture, same symbols, same unexplained technological disturbances. This led to a terrifying theory. What if these were not isolated ruins, but nodes, parts of a larger, ancient underground network buried across North America, an hidden system constructed long before recorded modern history? An idea that sounds absurd until you remember how much remains unknown beneath American land. Caves stretch for thousands of miles, subterranean systems remain unmapped, ancient indigenous cultures possessed geographical knowledge modern surveys still fail to fully understand. And history has repeatedly proven one uncomfortable truth: civilizations are often far older and more complex than we initially believe. But another question remained. If these sites were truly ancient infrastructure, what were they built for? Storage? Ceremony? Protection? Containment? That last possibility disturbed researchers most, because both sites shared one chilling feature: sealed access deeper underground. Not collapsed, not destroyed, intentionally closed, as if whatever existed below was never meant to be revisited or released. Years later, online communities obsessed over the pattern. Some connected these stories to ancient cave legends across the Appalachian Mountains. Others linked them to indigenous oral traditions warning against entering sleeping places beneath stone. Skeptics dismissed everything as exaggerated conspiracy, and perhaps some details are indeed distorted by time. But buried beneath all speculation lies a hard truth. We know far less about ancient North America than many assume. Entire cultures vanished, structures eroded, records lost, stories fragmented into folklore. And beneath forests, deserts, and mountains, time continues hiding what history forgot. Perhaps these underground chambers are nothing more than misunderstood ceremonial structures from forgotten civilizations. That would be the comforting explanation. But comfort rarely survives long in stories like these, because across both incidents, one pattern remains deeply unsettling. The deeper humans tried to investigate, the stronger the resistance became. Disappearances, psychological disturbances, equipment failure, outside interference, suppressed documentation, as if something, human or otherwise, consistently prevented full exploration. Coincidence? Maybe, but repeated coincidence begins to resemble design, and that is what makes this mystery so powerful. Not monsters, not ghosts, not dramatic fiction, but the possibility that beneath ordinary American land, ancient systems still exist beyond modern understanding. Silent, hidden, waiting. Perhaps future technology will finally unlock these buried secrets. Or perhaps humanity will continue doing what it has always done when faced with certain mysteries: walk away, seal the entrance, and pretend nothing was ever there. But somewhere beneath forgotten rock and untouched wilderness, those doors may still remain closed for now.